On December 10th, the Skelia Regiment repels an enemy assault in Pokrovsk. That morning, under cover of fog, Russians sent a large convoy into the city. Dozens of light vehicles and 50 infantry.
Ukraine's unmanned systems forces have recorded one of their most devastating days of combat effectiveness since the start of the full-scale invasion. Drone operators reported 535 Russian troops killed or wounded in a single day, and that figure was logged while more than 6 hours still remained in the operational cycle. It is a striking demonstration of how dramatically Ukraine's drone warfare capabilities have evolved in the last year. The achievement comes at a moment when Russia has committed some of its most capable units to the Donbas front. Moscow recently deployed its main reserve in the region, including the full 76th Air Assault Division, a formation long considered one of Russia's elite rapid reaction forces. Once used for high-priority operations, the division is now being forced into exhausting frontal assaults against entrenched Ukrainian defenses. Ukrainian commanders say this shift reflects both Russia's desperation and Ukraine's growing ability to attrite elite units with precision unmanned systems. Drone battalions have become a decisive arm of Ukraine's defense strategy, conducting constant surveillance, adjusting artillery, and striking Russian infantry and vehicles with guided munitions. These units now operate around the clock, saturating key sectors with reconnaissance and firepower that were impossible earlier in the war. According to operational reports, Ukrainian unmanned units managed to destroy the combat power of an entire Russian battalion within one day. Depending on the battalion's structure, that can represent hundreds of troops lost in a single strike window. For Russia, the depletion of elite airborne formations, once held as strategic shock troops, marks a significant erosion of its ability to generate fresh offensive momentum. For Ukraine, the record underscores the growing dominance of drones in modern warfare. What once required heavy artillery barrages or armored assaults can now be achieved with small, cheap, and precise unmanned systems operated by highly trained crews. As Russia continues its costly push across Donbas, Ukraine's drone operators are proving that technology, skill, and adaptation can rewrite the balance on the battlefield. Russian soldiers flood hospitals to dodge frontline duty near Pokrovsk. Atesh. Russian soldiers are being hospitalized en masse in an attempt to avoid combat on the Kherson axis and rotation to the front lines near Pokrovsk, Atesh reported. The partisans noted that within the 205th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade on the Kherson axis, the number of troops seeking hospitalization has risen sharply as they try to avoid combat. There has been a particularly large spike in cases of illness amid rumors that units may be redeployed to the Pokrovsk sector, the partisans highlighted. They added that medical units are reporting a dramatic increase in hospital visits. Soldiers are ending up in military hospitals in groups, using old injuries, questionable diagnoses, or any other pretext they can find to avoid rotation. Soldiers are increasingly stating that they do not want to go to the front line and are looking for any way to dodge it, Atesh said. On November 16th, the partisans reported that near Pokrovsk, Russian assault troops are increasingly suffering from friendly fire due to confusion and a lack of identification markings. Losses already number in the dozens, and the offensive in this sector is slowing down. Ukrainian drone teams from the 71st Jaeger Brigade destroyed Russian infantry groups in Sumy Oblast during recent combat operations. Russian forces are maintaining heavy pressure across Sumy Oblast, with frequent strikes on civilian areas and frontline settlements. In the past day and recent days, nearly 110 attacks, including airstrikes with guided aerial bombs, multiple launch rocket fire, and drone strikes, hit around 37 communities across the region. Civilian infrastructure has been damaged and some residents evacuated from border settlements. Ukrainian forces say they have successfully repelled multiple Russian ground assaults and prevented new territorial gains by Russian troops along sectors near the Sumy border. Commanders report that elite Russian units have failed to achieve meaningful progress in recent months, with defenders holding the borderline and even conducting limited offensive actions to push back enemy attempts. Sumy Oblast remains a high-risk zone with repeated Russian strikes affecting civilians and infrastructure, while Ukrainian forces maintain defensive pressure on the border and limit Russian advances even as talks and broader strategic developments unfold. Russian forces attempted a flanking maneuver near Pokrovsk with dozens of vehicles, trying to strike Ukrainian positions from the rear. Ukraine's 425th Skelya Regiment detected the convoy in time. Coordinated actions afterwards successfully dismantled the column and halted the assault.
On December 10th, the Skelya Regiment repels an enemy assault in Pokrovsk. That morning, under cover of fog, Russians sent a large convoy into the city. Dozens of light vehicles and 50 infantry. Aerial reconnaissance and Skelya Regiment assault troops are the first to detect the attack. Then, the destruction of the enemy begins.
Around 9 o'clock in the morning, the movement of 3 enemy boxes was detected. At that very moment, our pilots were the only ones conducting reconnaissance over the area of responsibility.
Our guys took it out with single-use drones. The column stopped, after which we aimed our artillery and with allied FPVs as well as our own FPVs engaged the equipment. The equipment was destroyed, there were wounded and 9 men were killed. The enemy was a bit in a panic and began to retreat. 1 serviceman entered our positions. We eliminated this enemy. Our guys searched him and found documents showing he was from the 76th Airborne Division.
The enemy attempted to storm with armored vehicles and infantry on quad bikes. This movement was detected by aerial reconnaissance pilots. Information was immediately relayed through communication channels to FPV pilots who, together with adjacent units, repelled the assault and destroyed all equipment.
Ernest, the 425th Assault Battalion's forces were used for recon and artillery strikes. HIMARS were also active. So the work was done comprehensively. The enemy was destroyed. But I'd also like to pause to highlight the infantry's courage, as the first to engage were the 2nd Assault Battalion. The guys there used their disposables. In general, they showed resilience, courage, and teamwork.
Everyone performed and showed results.
Alexander, currently the 425th separate assault regiment Skelya maintains full control in its area of responsibility. The enemy is suffering heavy losses. Upon first contact with our soldiers, they flee the battlefield, demoralized and without success.
Lavrov stated that Europe is in a militaristic frenzy, while also saying that if Europe wants to fight, Russia is always ready.
The Europeans, of course, are hatching plans to build up their forces and assets right on the borders of the Union State of Russia and Belarus. In Poland alone, it has been announced that they intend to increase the production of 155mm ammunition 30-fold. And yet, against this very backdrop, they are attempting to convince everyone that they are not preparing for war, but rather for some kind of just peace in Ukraine, claiming a significant role in the settlement. All these Europeans, like Macron, proudly declare that without us, without Europe, no one will be able to resolve anything. We are not harboring them. The President stated this very clearly. No aggressive plans against either NATO members or European Union members. We are ready to put corresponding guarantees in writing in a legal document, naturally on a collective reciprocal basis in the context of the approach outlined above. But this, I repeat, it is us, and we are responsible for our words, but on the other side, an openly militaristic frenzy reigns. And as our president said, if Europe decides, we are ready for it right now.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.